If you're a creative person of any sort, you know that creating an original piece of work can be frustrating. You sit down and your mind goes as blank as the page sitting in front of you. If that's the case, it may be worth finding inspiration from highly creative people. In this video, you'll learn 3 habits that will help you produce amazing original work you can be proud of. All of this information is based on Andrew Huberman's work, whose podcast on the topic is linked in the description box below. Let's get right into the tips. Tip number 1, enter the flow state. Flow state, also known as being in the zone, refers to a psychological state of optimal experience and performance characterized by complete absorption, focused concentration, and deep enjoyment in an activity. Flow state typically occurs when the challenges of a task meet an individual's skills and abilities. In other words, it's a state between boredom when the task is too easy and frustration when the task is too difficult. In 2011, scientists studied the live performance of 236 music students who played various instruments. They had the students report how confident they felt about their playing abilities and how much they enjoyed playing the instrument. The students who reported that their performance was too challenging also reported that they didn't particularly enjoy playing. As a consequence, the students did not experience the flow state, or being in the zone. The challenge was simply beyond their current skill level. The study confirmed that in order to achieve the flow state, the activity has to be challenging, but not so much that it causes frustration. The activity also needs to be enjoyable. You're much more likely to be in the zone when you do something that you love doing. These are the key 3 components of achieving flow: optimal challenge, capability, and enjoyment. Another key component to achieving flow is eliminating distractions. This is why establishing some sort of ritual where you can work uninterrupted is critical. You should also focus on the process rather than the end result. Focusing on the end result can cause stress, doubt, and anxiety, which is not conducive to achieving flow. Instead, enjoy the journey and the satisfaction that comes from being fully engaged in the present moment. When in flow, you'll often experience a different sense of time. In other words, time will seem to fly by as you're deeply engaged in what you're doing. So, if possible, try to remove the time constraints, like deadlines or other activities you need to do next. By having enough time to focus on the task, you'll be much more likely to enter flow and produce amazing work. If you want to know more about flow, we highly recommend the book Flow by a psychologist, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, which is linked in the description box below. Tip number 2, have a ritual. An English writer, William Somerset Maugham, famously said, "I write only when inspiration strikes." Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. Similarly, Stephen King writes every single day and has a daily goal of writing 2,000 words. He usually writes in the morning and doesn't stop until he reaches his goal. During his writing, he doesn't allow for any distractions, so he can focus on his work. This consistency and perseverance has allowed him to write over 60 novels over his career. Most creatives have a daily routine they rely on to get their work done. In other words, they don't wait around for inspiration. Instead, they develop a system to consistently work on their craft, regardless of inspiration or lack thereof. A routine that's repeated consistently becomes a ritual. Matthew McConaughey has developed a ritual to prepare for his performance. It includes humming and rhythmically beating his chest. If this sounds familiar, it's because it was actually depicted in an iconic scene from Martin Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street. Leo DiCaprio was so intrigued by McConaughey's ritual, he requested for this to be incorporated into the script. Having a ritual like this can help you relax and focus, which will make it easier for you to get into the state of flow. You don't have to beat your chest like Matthew. Pick something that works for you. You can visualize, meditate, say positive affirmations, and so on. Your ritual can be as simple as making a cup of coffee and sitting down to work at exactly the same time every day. Whatever it is you're trying to create, the only way to do it successfully is to keep showing up. Schedule a specific time of day where you can work without interruptions, even if it's only 15 minutes. If your mind goes blank, don't worry about it, because it's perfectly normal. Just do something. Doing something badly is better than not doing it at all. You'll get better at it the more you practice. Tip number 3, use limitations. Even though human creativity is theoretically limitless, creating or determining boundaries for a creative process actually enhances creativity instead of stifling it. There needs to be rules and structure. Otherwise, everything would be too chaotic. Here's what an award-winning author, Steven Kotler, has to say on optimizing creativity through concrete planning and setting boundaries. Limits drive creativity. The blank page is too blank to be useful. This is why in my work, one of my cardinal rules is always know your starts and your endings. In the early 1900s, during his Cubist phase, Pablo Picasso experimented with his paintings, limiting himself to geometric shapes and a restricted color palette. As a consequence, he completely revolutionized the art of the 20th century. Similarly, during his blue period, Picasso deliberately restricted his color palette to different shades of blue. This limitation allowed him to effectively convey specific emotions and themes, like melancholy and introspection. Picasso's estimated net worth at the time of his death would be between $530 million and $1.3 billion today. Picasso didn't rely on talent alone. He added printmaking, stage design, and even sculpture to his arsenal. Then he grew his earnings even further with a portfolio made up of 5 mansions and gold. Long story short, Picasso knew he couldn't put all his eggs in one basket, and he was able to leave his family millions to fight over for decades. You can apply this strategy to your own portfolio with today's sponsor, Masterworks. Masterworks offers you the chance to diversify your portfolio with million-dollar contemporary art, including works from legends like Picasso, as well as Basquiat, Monet, and Banksy, without spending millions to do so. Masterworks allows you to supplement your stocks and savings with an assessment that's historically appreciated in times of economic crisis. They've sold $45 million worth of art and distributed the net proceeds to investors. Over 750,000 people have signed up so far, and while the markets are still shaky, demand is rising. But my subscribers can skip the wait list and get started today by clicking the link in the description. Using limitations in your work will help you focus, come up with novel ideas, and remove the pressure of endless possibilities. This will truly unlock your creative potential and help you produce amazing work. I hope these tips have been helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you know of any other unusual habits from your favorite artists. If you're still not sure whether or not you should embark on your creative journey, or if you're having trouble staying motivated to complete your work, check out my other video on how to increase motivation, also linked in the description box below. Besides that, guys, stay tuned.